welcome back to Squirrel Brain Stories. I'm Angela, and I'm here with my co-host, Adria.
Hi.
And so if you guys didn't have a chance to watch any of the previous episodes, go back and, check out the cult part of the episodes, the prearranged husband and all of that fun stuff. And now we're going to be jumping into my second ex-husband and all of the crazy stuff that happened in Mexico and trying to get back to the United States and just trying to survive.
And I think where we left off last, you and I, because you just did two with Buck, and They were great, and I hope you guys listened to them. Where you and I left off, you had just met him when you moved back into one of the cult's houses because you had to let go of the house that your parents convinced you to buy for the cult, right?
Well, it wasn't for I don't know if it was necessarily for the cult. It was my house. They were co-signers, but it was more the prearranged husband's idea. But we did have people from the cult living there.
Yeah, and paying him rent, which he then ran away with, left you and his two boys with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Fabulous father, fabulous guy, just a great guy.
Yeah. In comparison, though, between the two.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. That first part was a lot easier to talk about than I imagine how this second portion is going to go.
And we're finally in the territory, you guys, where I know basically nothing. So that whole cult part, I knew a lot of it because, like you said, that was fairly easy and open for you to talk about. But going into your second marriage, I know next to nothing. All I know is I saw a picture of the guy and it just... Like I told you and Buck before we started recording, I would have crossed the street. I would have chosen the rabid bear. Far the fuck away from him.
Yeah, he thinks he's a badass.
He looks terrifying. And we'll get into his bullshit. But he couldn't have come off that bad when you first met him.
No, he seemed pretty nice. And, when the bad stuff was still happening, so what with the prearranged husband, when that all ended, there was some retaliation. My car windows got smashed. And so he appeared to be very protective of me. He, started retaliating back. He smashed some windows and stuff like that. And I was naive and I thought that it was him protecting me.
Somebody was standing up for you. For once, somebody wasn't letting you be attacked and abused by other people. You had, your mom, then you had your stepdad, then you had them get together to send you to this cult where horrible things happened to you. And then you had your first husband beating the shit out of you and nobody helping you. And now here comes, are we allowed to say his name?
Yes, because he's a wanted felon.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Juan.
He's a wanted felon by the U.S. Marshals and still have an active warrant for his arrest in Clackamas County, Oregon.
Mm.
So, yes, we are very free to say his name because maybe he might be found one of these days if he ever tries coming back.
Well, I don't know if we should hope for that or not, but...
I mean... I don't know. Like I was telling Buck last night, we were laying in bed and talking about, I'm like, it would be kind of nice to have a death certificate.
Yeah.
Because at least the kids would get some Social Security for someone that's never paid a dime of child support in their child's life.
No child support, but you can afford bail. Okay.
Yeah. I know. So, yeah. So after I got to the point where I realized I couldn't manage all the payments and stuff for that house that I had, and the mortgage was past due, and my parents knew it was past due because I'm sure they got called by the bank and stuff.
Yeah, that's their credit on the line too.
Yes. So they're like, we need to figure out a plan. And I'm like, well, I don't know where to go. I didn't know how to adult, because I had people controlling my life for so many years. I never made one decision on my own.
you were just starting out learning about credit reports. You had no rental history. It's not even
No.
like you would have been in a position as a single mother of two to go rent an apartment because you'd only had a job for what, 2-3 years at that point?
Probably.
So
right about
lots
there.
of places you weren't going to get any loans, you weren't going to get any help. It just
And I had filed bankruptcy because of all
the fraudulent credit card debt.
Yeah. So I told my mom and dad, my stepdad, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. And they're like, well, let us talk with the leader. And so they reached out to the leader that was still in Hawaii. He wasn't jailed yet at this point. And they're like, well, let us reach out to the leader and see if he'll let you rent a room in the house. And this was the Peach House. It was the main house that I was taken to when I was first taken there. And he said that was fine. And the room, the house was empty. I think there was one other person staying there. And the room that he said that they had to give me was the same room that I had with the prearranged husband. And it pissed me off
That
so
was
much.
A flagrant fuck you.
Yeah, it pissed me off because there were so many bad memories in that room,
Yeah.
But what could I do? What could I say,
And where was the ex-husband while this was happening?
He lived a block away at the King's house.
He was still right there in close proximity.
Yeah.
Did he ever come visit the house just to visit the house?
Not while I was there.
Okay.
But him and my mom were friends. They're still friends. So I'm sure that, and my mom would go over there for Bible studies because he was the new leader. So he would do Bible studies with all his minions that he had at the King's house. So just kind of give a little bit of a timeline. So my divorce from Luis was official in July of 2004. And then I ended up marrying Juan in September of 2004.
So that was
a little 2.5 months.
You guys were separated though before you were divorced,
yes.
Right? The divorce had to process.
Yeah, I think I filed for divorce in April of 2004.
Oh, damn, they take that long?
Oh, it took longer with Juan. It was like a year until my divorce was final.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Well, part of it was because I had to give DHS legal custody, not physical custody. And that was my way to maneuver them enforcing him getting out of the house because he wouldn't leave the house. I couldn't get him out. I couldn't kick him out. I tried and he came back. The one time I kicked him out, he came back and that's when he raped me in the middle of the night. So I felt helpless and I didn't know how to get him out of the house. And DHS probably at this point had been involved. They'd probably come to visit us like 8 times at this point.
Shit.
Because there was reports from the school, it started with my older boys because he was very abusive with them. So DHS was involved for a while. They kept coming because, his thing was spanking is not illegal. And they're like, but if you leave marks on your kids, that's illegal.
That's not a spanking. That's a beating.
Yeah. So yeah, I married him 2.5 months after the first divorce was finalized. I got pregnant like right away and it just kind of all falls back to all of the cult brainwashing. As soon as I realized I was pregnant, I told him we had to get married because I believed that it was a sin to be pregnant without being married.
Now, going back to you, because you met Juan because you moved into that house.
Yes.
Was he part of the cult?
He would go over there for some Bible studies and go over there for dinner because they would like make a big, the same style as in the cult. They'd make the big dinner for everyone and then you'd eat and then there'd be a Bible study.
It seems like there's a big shift though, now that everybody, well, not everybody, but the majority has gone to Hawaii. The big main leader has gone to Hawaii. It seems like there's all these cracks that have formed because prior to this, there wouldn't have been a choice. There would have been a huge Bible study in the house. Everybody would have been fully immersed if they were living there.
Yeah.
But it sounds more like now that it's just you, your parents, and Juan kind of living in this house, it's just
it was
normal.
It was a lot more lax. Even at the King's house, it was a lot more lax. Like there was the evening Bible study after dinner that everyone had to go to. But other than that, there were no other Bible studies. And, if you read, the people would still read their Bible during the day, but it wasn't like you were being woken up at 6:00 to go read your Bible. You were still expected to read your Bible throughout the day, but it was less mandated.
Okay. And you weren't going to the King's house for Bible study
No.
at this point?
No.
Okay.
No.
But your ex was still coming and harassing you at the house you were at?
Well, like when my windows got smashed in, I don't know who did it, but I'm pretty sure, who else would have done it out of like all
An
the cars?
educated guess would tell you.
Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily mean that he did it, but he had family members that were gang members. So, it could have been anyone. And there were all the people at his cult that he was running. It could have been any one of them,
Yeah.
I don't think he would have done it. He's too much of a pussy.
And how long into you living in this house and meeting Juan did he kind of decide to throw on his cape and pretend to be your savior? Was it kind of immediate?
Yeah, it was pretty quickly. After we got married, so it was the one funny thing is, so when we got married, after I was like, I can't be pregnant and not married because I felt guilty. I felt like I was in sin and I was going to get in trouble with God. And I told him we had to get married. And my mom and the prearranged husband, they're like, he's married already in Mexico. And I didn't believe them because of all of the lies and stuff.
Because they're both horrible people.
Yeah, I didn't believe them. And, so I was like, whatever, I just figured they were just trying to stir up more bullshit, and cause drama.
Well, your mom is playing buddy with your abuser and your rapist.
Yeah.
And pretending like he's a good person.
Yeah. So when we ended up getting married, I still didn't have any friends because I was fresh out of the cult. I had no one. The only people I knew were my mom and dad, and so the day that we went to go get married, we drove by the areas in Portland where the Hispanics hang out, the day workers. Mm-hmm. There's like all these Hispanics that hang out there with their lunches already packed and their backpacks and stuff. And they just hang out all day until construction crews or landscapers drop by and they're like, we need 5. We need 2 people. And they just pile in their truck or van or whatever. And they take them off to go work for the day and they pay them cash.
Yeah.
So he went to one of those places where they all hang out. He's like, I need 2 witnesses to come with me to the courthouse. So we hired 2 Mexican people. I still have the marriage certificate. I have no idea who these people are, but they signed the marriage license so that we can get married. And before they got in the car, he's like, I need to check your guys' backpacks first. Just make sure you have no weapons. You're not going to put us in danger. And so he checked their backpacks and they were good. And we all went to the courthouse. And then we got tacos afterwards.
Nice.
And then he paid them and that was that. Yeah. So then shortly after that, of course, my mom and the first husband, they were all having fits, because of the marriage and stuff and kind of just giving us a lot of trouble and just, harassing us and just like, I don't know, it was kind of getting intolerable to stay there at that house. So shortly after, I probably was only there a couple months. And then we ended up, after we got married, we ended up finding a townhome. And so we moved out and went to go live in this townhome.
Okay.
And so I thought life was gonna, I was finally out out on my own, parent, trying to be an adult and learn how to live. I was, I had already made all the, before, the day that I realized that I was done with the first ex-husband, I filed the immigration report and all of the different reports. And I probably was about 5 months pregnant at this point when immigration reached out to me finally. So it had almost been like a year since I had filed all of those police reports and everything. And so they finally reached out to me and they wanted to meet me at work and get more information about the immigration, smuggling, and trafficking that the prearranged husband had done and using the kids' birth certificates and stuff like that. So I met with them and then I didn't hear back from him for a little while. And finally he reached out again. He's like, we want you guys to be part of an undercover investigation to try to get evidence on the prearranged husband so we can charge him. Okay. So that's kind of when, so Juan had a brother that came up illegally. His name is Marcos. And Marcos was brought up illegally by Juan, or by the prearranged husband. He was part of that. And so since Marcos was brought up, it was easy to kind of say like, well, my wife's down in Mexico. And that was how that's how the sting was approached. It was him saying that he wanted to bring up his wife, Carmen, from Mexico, and he wanted the prearranged husband to help bring her up. So they met a few times and they had a voice recorder that immigration gave them. I didn't go in when they would go talk to him because
well, hell no.
Yeah, well, and he totally hated my guts too.
Well, yeah.
So they were doing this undercover investigation with ICE, and I'd wait in the truck while they met with him and got their recordings, and they ended up getting a written contract by their prearranged husband saying that he was going to charge $2,000 to bring up Marcos's wife from Mexico and all of that stuff. And then once ICE had enough evidence, then we stopped doing that stuff. And that's when they gave them a 1-year work permit and gave them social security numbers for their cooperation in the investigation. And then I think that that immigration article I think you saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. So immigration ended up deporting a bunch of people that were at the new cult under the prearranged husband. A lot of people ended up getting deported, and a lot of people were not very happy with me because of that, because they knew that
because once again, it's all your fault.
Well, the day that I decided I was done with the prearranged husband, I flat out told him that I called I filed a report with immigration, I filed a report with the IRS, and I filed a police report. So he knew, like, I wasn't keeping any secrets. I'm like, yeah. You screwed me over for so many years and I'm done. And this is what I did to piss you off.
Well, I don't even know if it was just to piss him off. He stole your children's identity. He financially ruined you. And I mean, that's just on top of everything else he did to you.
Yeah. So, and that's when, we were still living at this townhome, and he told me over the phone one day, because for a little while, the boys would still go and visit until I had the child, I did an amended divorce thing and changed it to no visitations with him. So, we were on the phone and he told me that they were coming to take care of me. And that's when I filed a police report, or I don't know if they actually filed a police report, but I called the police and they came out and they told me that if no one was in front of me with any kind of weapon that was threatening to cause me physical harm, then there wasn't anything they can do. And at this point, Juan and I had already talked about going down to Mexico because my little daughter, she was a few months old at this point, so I was still on maternity leave, and I think probably at this point, that job that I was at, I went on maternity leave, and while I was on maternity leave, they contacted me and they're like, "You don't have to come back. We know that you just gave birth and you're enjoying your time with your daughter, and we decided to eliminate your position." So then I was like, I was able to get on unemployment. I was like, well, this is awesome. I don't have to work. I don't have to worry about daycare. I can be on unemployment and like try to find some job, if I want to. But
I thought employers couldn't do that. Let you go while you're on like maternity leave or FMLA.
I don't know. It sounds really sketchy to me, but I kind of, I didn't look down on the situation. I was like, this is kind of nice because now I won't have to worry about finding daycare and trusting someone with my baby.
It benefited you in the moment.
Yeah. In the moment, I was like, okay, this might be good because I don't have to worry about daycare and leaving my baby with someone and make sure that they're going to take care of them right. And, so I was like, okay, that's fine. I was like, whatever. But before I went out on maternity leave, Juan was still harassing the prearranged husband. So he went over there one time because the prearranged husband had a bookstore.
Yeah.
And so he went over there one time and threw a Bible at his face and was like trying to pick a fight with him at his bookstore. And then there was one time where they were on a car chase. I wasn't there, so I don't know exactly what happened, but I guess Juan was like chasing after the prearranged husband in a car chase, and the prearranged husband was trying to get away, and he probably was scared shitless. So he ended up filing a police report, and I don't know if he threatened him with guns or not. Juan did have a shotgun or a rifle. I don't know. I just remember it being one of the long guns.
Yeah.
He had one, but it was kind of crazy how it went. So a couple weeks before, so the prearranged husband had to file this police report, that Juan was in a car chase with him. And there must have been something said before the car chase about a gun. And so I was on my way to work one day, and I would drive to this certain spot where it was easy to like just park. And the Max, the train, like the TriMet train up in Portland, it's called Max. It was just easy there was free parking. And then I just get on the Max and then go up to the Max and go up on a bus to work. Because otherwise parking at OHS is $150 a month. Back then. I can't imagine what it is like now. Oh my gosh. But back then it was $150 a month for parking up at my work. So I was like, I'm not going to pay that. So I'd drive most of the way and then park somewhere that was free to park. Anyways, after I parked, the police stopped me, and they must have known where I parked. Someone must have followed me from my home there. And they're like, you have to stay here until we get to your house because we're gonna search your house for weapons. And I was like, okay. But a couple weeks before they came and searched our house, Juan took that rifle or shotgun, whatever it was, he took it and went to go throw it in a river. I don't know what river because I didn't go with him.
Yeah.
But he told me he got rid of it. I don't even know where he got it from. I know that his now I know his wife that was in Mexico, it was her brother, and her brother was a drug dealer. So he had access to guns.
Weapons.
Yeah. So I don't know if he got it somehow through him. But yeah, a couple weeks before the raid, he threw that gun in the river. So when they came and searched the house, they pulled out the dishwasher and like everywhere.
It's a good thing you weren't hiding in the fridge. They would have found you.
Who knows if they checked the fridge?
If they pulled out the dishwasher, they opened the fridge.
So they didn't find anything. And Juan was like in custody for a day. And when they didn't find anything, then they let him go.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because, it's a sanctuary city. It's catch and release. So they didn't find anything. They let him go, and we went about our life. But at this point, we were already talking about going down to Mexico. I mean, I wasn't working, and he just worked whatever jobs. It's easy for them to find jobs. Doing whatever, working at McDonald's or construction. So he really didn't have a job that he was like committed to.
Yeah.
So he had convinced me to move down to Mexico. And I was like, okay, sure, let's go. So we had an expedition truck and we packed up whatever we could take. I drove down with him. So we ended up driving down to Mexico in the expedition with whatever that we could take. And it took a few days to get down there. This was right after the Katrina hurricane. So a lot of the roads were washed out. There was missing parts of the road, cones blocking off the roads and stuff. So it took us a few days to get down there because the roads were kind of a mess. And once we got down to Mexico, we went to his town for the day, but I didn't go to his house because that's where the other wife was staying, is my guess. So he said that I was going to go to his aunt's house. Her name is Mirna, and she lived in the Yucatan. And I was going to stay there for a little while until he got things in order in his town and that it was safe for me to be there. So I was probably down at his aunt's house. It was probably a month or two with all of the kids. And, she was really nice. She cooked good.
Did you see him at all during that time?
Yeah, he would come down and visit. It was like a 3-4 hour drive to get there. So he'd come down and visit.
So he brought his, for lack of a better term, illegitimate wife to his home country and went to be with his legal wife while he dropped you at his aunt's doorstep and said, "Take care of this for me. I'll be back."
Yeah, pretty much. And so, but when I finally went up to his town, the wife, she had rented a house in front of his house. And she was going to set up a store there. She had a store in front of his house and his store, because he had a store too on his property. So that was an interesting dynamic, to be right there and her right across the street and always watching us and staring at us. And it was just, she, in the time that he had been gone, she transferred 2 trucks out of his name that she had sold. And, she had all this money that she had taken from him. So she had the means to pay off a lot of people. The cops were paid off. She had a good lawyer that was very corrupt, Freddie Dominguez. He's a pain in the ass. He causes so much headache. So we're down there, just trying to do life, trying to, have a business and retire or whatever. I don't know. That was what I was told, we're going to retire down here and we're going to run the business. And I was like, okay. But it was just constant drama, like nonstop bullshit. The whole time we were down there, we'd be at the market and the police would try to barricade in the truck. One time they like barricaded around the truck and tried to take off the license plates for our truck.
The police did?
Just to give us bullshit. Yeah. And then one day they came and stopped in front of the store and they shined their big spotlight in the store. And I got mad. I was like, what the fuck do you guys want? But just to, harass us. And then one day, he was really pissed because of all this stuff that he stole from her, or she stole from him, like all his money that he had been sitting down, and like, well, you were sending it to her. What did you expect?
Yeah.
So one day she was on her way to the store to buy stuff for her store, and he robbed her and took her wallet. And after that, I don't know how soon after she had a group of people show up at the front gate. So in Mexico, they use a lot of those those big metal gates.
Like the wrought iron ones that kind of...
Yeah, but it was a full metal. So
Okay.
we had one of those in front of the carport, this full metal gate, and it like opened up, the big doors opened up. Well, there's a group of people out there. Her lawyer was out there with her too. And I believe there was a police officer out there, and they all started throwing rocks at our house. So these weren't like little tiny rocks. They're like, when they throw rocks in Mexico, it's not little rocks. They're like big rocks. I don't even know how they can throw rocks so big, but they just started bombarding our house with all these rocks. And someone had a gun, and we're trying to call the police, and the police don't want to get involved.
Because the police are there.
Yeah,
They're
and
bought
they've been
paid
paid off.
for.
Yeah. And so I go get a bottle of acid, because in third world countries, acid is a main cleaning ingredient, but it's also the ingredient that will melt your skin.
Yeah.
So I went and got a bottle of acid. I'm like, well, if they come through that gate, I'll spray some acid. And my father-in-law at the time, he's like, get him back inside. You're going to get hurt. You're pregnant. And he had a pickaxe, and the wand. He had his gun. At some point before all this happened, a soldier showed up at the house one day. And I was like, whoa, there's a soldier. I had never seen a Mexican soldier before. And I was like, oh, there's a soldier. Huh. That's what they look like. They don't look as scary as I thought they would. But he sold him an AK-47.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful thing to give to a man like this.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So he was out there with his AK-47. And I think he fired a couple shots just over the gate. So they didn't
warning shots.
Yeah. And it finally the people dispersed, and that was the end of it. But the cops never showed up to help us. And so that was, one of the incidents. And then after that, things were a little quiet. And, we're just like going about, like, I just think, I'm just going about life and just, living. And my father, so there's all those people on the tricycles that would stop by to like try to sell you bread and stuff. And my father-in-law at the time, he'd be like, don't buy bread from the same person multiple times, because you never know if someone might try to poison you. And I'm like, well, fuck.
So right here, I want to pause because trouble seems to follow Juan.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere he goes.
Yep.
And this is just the trouble that's outside of your home.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on behind the closed doors? Let's start all the way back. We're still in Portland. You guys are just married. It can't solely be him going on the attack to your ex, right?
Oh, no. Yeah, no, there was like one time he changed the oil for his car, and he went and he drove the dirty oil to the prearranged husband's Colt house, and he dumped the oil in the middle of the night on top of his car. And then he wrote on the car, I don't know what he wrote with because I wasn't there, but he told me about it. He wrote with something on the car that says, I have AIDS, but he wrote it in Spanish, tengo sida. He wrote it on his car. And then he popped some tires. And then this one time, after my windows were smashed, I was like, I don't understand. I didn't hear anything, and my car was close to the house. And I was like, how could I not hear anything? He's like, they didn't smash your windows. They used a spark plug. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And so he bought some spark plugs. He's like, I'll show you. And I was like, okay. So I thought, I honestly didn't know what I thought. I didn't know what he was going to break with this spark plug. But he got a hammer and broke the white part around the spark plug. I think it's like ceramic or something, and got some of the chips off. And then one day he pulled up to this restaurant and throws them at someone's car at the restaurant. And the window just like, and it falls, the whole thing just falls down.
Like silently?
Yes. but just some random person's car that was at a restaurant. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cruel to do to someone,
So was that your first indication from him that his cruelty wasn't just to protect you, that it was laying under the surface and that he just had this cruel streak in him?
I think so. I don't think I really realized it at the time, but that definitely was the first time that was like, I should have seen, all of the red flags instead of, just like.
You cannot keep should-having all over yourself. It's not helpful.
Yeah. So he did that, and then he put gasoline in his gas tank, or not gasoline, he put sugar in his gas tank one time. And shortly after that, the car died.
And this whole time that he's on this campaign against your ex, things are fine with you guys.
Yeah.
He's not beating you.
Nope.
He's not raping you, not hurting your kids. Just kind of, I have this to focus on and I get to tell you it's to protect you. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm wholeheartedly in this. I even love you so much. We're going to get out of the United States and we're going to go to Mexico where things will be easier.
Yeah.
Does that dynamic shift once you guys get to Mexico?
No, he never hit me, like physically hit me. I mean, yeah, later on during the marriage, he raped me a couple of times, but he never once hit me because he knew that I was not going to tolerate being hit ever again in my life. So and I think he was very strategic about that. Like he knew that would be crossing the line.
He knew the level of abuse you were willing to tolerate.
Yes, even though I didn't realize it at the time. Yeah. So, because I wasn't getting beaten, it didn't seem as bad as it really was,
It was great. It was, he may do XYZ, but I'm not bruised. I'm not bloody. My kids aren't getting beat.
Well, I know one time before we moved down to Mexico, he hit one of my kids in the face and gave him a bloody nose. Yeah. And they were little at the time. And in Mexico, I don't really remember him being abusive towards them. I don't think it really started until we came back to the U.S.
And was coming back to the U.S. because of the problems his wife was causing for you guys?
So no, it was because he tried to kill his ex-wife.
Did they officially divorce?
They did. But finally in 2013 is when he did the divorce paperwork. Yeah. So one night, we're doing all this. We had a parcel. There was probably about a couple of acres on the land. So we decided to make a parcel, with a bunch of trees. We planted avocado trees, and we had a little worker guy that lived around the corner that came and did all this work for us. He was planting all these trees. So we planted a bunch of avocado trees, a bunch of lime trees. I don't know, probably 100 of them on this land. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, we're going to, lemons and avocados sell pretty good at the market. So, he's telling me that, this is how we're going to retire. We have all these plants. And one night he's like, I need you to go get gasoline. And I was like, okay. This is weird, but okay. He's telling me I have to go get gasoline for him. So I'm like, okay, so he had a taxi come and pick me up, and I had a gas can and took me to the gas station, and I filled it up with gasoline and went home back to the house. And, before that happened, there were still other stuff. Like one time we were in this other town. It was, about 20 or 30 minutes away. It's called Tikash. And that's where the judicial police are. And he probably had been harassing the other wife, that I didn't know about. I was just oblivious to so much. I just was really focused on my kids and, cooking and cleaning and, trying to be a good wife.
Yeah.
But one night when we were in this town, the police pulled us over, and I was like, oh gosh, what now?
Yeah, here we go again with the harassment.
Yeah, and we had a neighbor lady with us, and she had her daughter with us too. And they're like, we received reports that you were gonna burn a car. That Juan was gonna light a car on fire. And I was like, okay, this is weird. So they ended up arresting him, and then they were saying that the kids were kidnapped, that he had kidnapped kids. And I'm like, those are all my kids. And because we had this neighbor lady with us that had a kid with us too, they believed her because they knew her. And so like they didn't try taking the kids away or something like that. So after that, I drove home, and the next day I went to the judicial police department in Takash, and I was like, okay, I think they found a lighter or something in the truck, and that's why he ended up getting arrested, because they found a lighter. So that meant he was trying to light something on fire. So
that makes absolutely
it
no
was
sense.
so weird because his wife was in the town we were in at the same time. So I don't know what in the hell was going on, but she was in the same town at the same time. I don't know. Maybe he was making threats. Maybe he was pissed because she confiscated his trucks that he had and he wanted revenge. I don't know,
She's okay. He's out here with a whole illegal wife and a whole baby.
Oh, the other crazy part too? I forgot to talk about this part. Before we had went down to Mexico, the wife in Mexico told him that she bought a baby.
Begging your finest what?
Yeah, she bought a baby. So what she did, she's never had a child in her life. She's like sterile, I guess. They did tests on her because the two of them tried to have kids, and they told her that she was sterile and couldn't have kids. Her name is Irma. And at the house, they had this worker lady that worked for them at the store. And she like cleaned around. She was basically like a maid, a servant person. And the servant person's husband was in jail, and she had an affair, and she ended up getting pregnant, and she didn't want this baby. And so Irma jumped on the opportunity, because in Mexico, if you get a divorce and you have any children with that person, the mother gets the house. And that was really all she was really fighting for. She wanted to keep the house. And so the lady ended up moving in with her, and she like was, providing for her and paying all of her doctor bills and stuff. And they made an agreement. I don't know how much she paid for this baby. I don't remember if I ever heard how much she paid, but she was managing all the expenses for the pregnant lady. When the pregnant lady went to go give birth at the local hospital, they gave Juan's wife Irma's ID to the hospital and gave that name as the name of the person giving birth. So there's an actual birth certificate for this bought baby, and it says Irma is the mom and Juan is the dad.
That's a crime.
And yeah, and the baby I think was born like 10 days or so after my oldest daughter was born. So it was like, he wasn't even in Mexico. It's not his baby. She bought the baby. Everyone in the town in Uxluzcab, that's the town, everyone knows she bought the baby.
Well, yeah, she's never been pregnant.
No. And like he reported it when he got down there, and he reported it to the child welfare people down in Mexico. But to report anything in Mexico, everyone wants money. Like if you file any kind of reports for anything, the only way stuff moves is if you give them money.
Yeah, and she's already bought and paid for everything she needs.
Yeah, so no one ever looked into, or she never got in trouble for buying this baby.
Did she keep?
Yeah, she still has her. She's raised her as her daughter.
Does the daughter know?
I don't know.
That's kind of a big secret to keep. You know what? Not our circus, not our monkeys.
I know. Isn't that crazy though that you could buy a baby?
Questions, but you can't answer any of them.
Like, I mean, it's pretty easy to see on someone's ID if that's the person or not, It's so crazy. I could not believe, I still can't believe that she got away with buying a baby.
It's like we talked about with everything that went on with you. People would have to care.
Yeah.
And it just, why bother caring when just looking the other way is so much easier.
Yeah. So yeah, it was constant bullshit. He had a lawyer that, you know, we were always at his place. There was always something that we needed to pay because he was doing something to try to, you know, counteract whatever the wife was doing. It was just constant. So anyways, back to the gasoline thing. So yeah, this one night he tells me I have to go get him gasoline. And so I go and get gasoline, and then we went to bed, and next thing I know, he's waking me up like 6 o'clock in the morning. He's like, you got to get up, get all the kids. We have to go now. And I'm like, what? And, you know, I slept in Mexico. You sleep in hammocks. So I'm sleeping with my baby daughter, and I'm pregnant. I'm probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 months pregnant. And he's like, you got to get the kids. We have to go now. Get the diaper bag. And he's like, we can't go in the truck. We have to go through the yard. So we went and walked through the back of the yard all the way to the end and climbed across the barbed wire fence. And I'm like, what's going on? What happened? He's like, well, before the fire, before the incident, the wife had we were somewhere, and the wife had broken into our house. She had a welder. I don't know his first name, but they lived on the same street. His name was Paredes. That was the last name. And so Paredes came over and unwielded the security metal gate from the back door. And that's how they broke into the house. And the other wife stole bags and bags of clothes from inside his store. And she took it over to her store, and she was now selling them at her store. And so that was that. And there was one other thing.
I don't know if I should be in awe of her level of petty and just the shit she's able to come up with and execute.
Yeah, and this same guy, so there was this other incident before the fire. We were driving home from somewhere, and this rock comes flying in through the back passenger window, and it like just zoomed just barely past my daughter's car seat where she was. She was in her car seat, and she's still a baby, and it almost hit her car seat. And Juan just slammed on the brakes, stopped the truck, got his AK-47, and started shooting at those people's house. It was Paredes, the welder. It was his house. But he just started shooting at the house, like not caring if anyone's going to get hit or anything. It was pretty fucking scary.
Did anything happen from that?
No. No, he didn't get, I don't think he got arrested for that. No, there was only one time that one time he got arrested, but this wasn't for it. So yeah, no one, I don't think anyone got hurt, because I think he would have been arrested if someone got hit.
I have to press the pause button again. At what point do you start looking around your life and go, what the actual fuck is happening?
It was so stressful. I'm pretty sure I only went to the doctor one time for my pregnancy while I was down the whole time. So on our drive down to Mexico, that's when I got morning sickness, and I knew I was pregnant.
Yeah.
But the whole time in Mexico, we only went to the doctor one time, and that was just to get an ultrasound to see what the sex of the baby was. But he never took me to the doctor at all. I'm pretty sure I had preeclampsia, because I would see stars.
I'm just talking about the
No, it was so stressful. It was so, I don't even know how I survived all of that, honestly. I guess in comparison to the cult.
I was going to say, I have a theory that it just felt normal to you to have your anxiety that high, to be that uncertain all the time of how the people around you are going to act and what you're going to be dragged into at any given moment.
Yeah, it kind of felt normal. It was different the extreme,
because now you're actually in danger. Like your life is in danger. We're not just talking about you being beaten, not that that's not horrific, but now we're talking about police coming after you and people breaking into your home, taking shit from you. There's rocks being flung at your children. It
was so stressful. Oh my
I'm
gosh.
stressed the fuck out right now.
It was so fucking stressful. That I have no idea how I survived the whole Mexico ordeal.
I think I'm a little, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're getting close here. I think, right? We're about time. Okay. Well, we are going to take a break, you guys. We're going to come back and we will go on to the fire story.
Yes. And when just keep bearing with us. We love having you.
Hopefully your guys' palms aren't as sweaty as mine because, oh my gosh, talking about all this stuff.
Drink your water, take your meds, call a friend.
And don't forget, you can find us Squirrel Brain Stories on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all the places.
Oh, squirrelbrainstories@gmail.com. Let us know if you have any questions, comments. I'm always open to asking Angela anything that she's willing to answer.
I'm pretty much an open book. I mean,
Yeah. And if you have your own personal stories and experiences with this cult, a different cult, something going on at home that you just need to get off your chest anonymously, we're happy to do it.
Yep. Reach out. Okay. Bye, guys, for now.
See you next time.
Bye.